Terry Waterhouse. He's a former policeman from Vancouver and taught and was an administrator in the Burnaby School District for many years, and is now teaching in the criminology department of the University College of the Fraser Valley, and has been a longtime advocate of restorative justice, and currently is assisting us in the Abbotsford group with evaluation and research, and supports us on the board. So he's been a wonderful help to the restorative justice movement. So Terry, can you join us, please?
Well, I could actually do this really quickly because I could sum it all up by just saying what they said. The voices from the three youth that are here today who bring their direct experience, who had the opportunity facilitated through Jody, in my mind, is what restorative justice is all about. And when I hear the question being asked, what is the next step? I think the next step is providing opportunities for voice, to give voice and enhanced voices for youth. And I believe that for a couple of reasons. One is because when we give them voice, you can hear how passionately they really nail the issue on the head, and they really nail it. And also because I think about giving voice to the youth and the power of that when I think about my own research, because some of the research I've been doing in schools, one of the questions we ask youth is, do you have a voice in your school? Do you feel like you're heard? Do you feel like you have input? When conflict happens, do you feel like you have an opportunity to resolve it? Do you feel like your school has mechanisms to resolve that? Most kids say no, essentially, to that question. Most kids tell us, no, I don't have a voice. And when we look at our data, even those kids who come across, who are telling us they're highly successful in a lot of ways, most of those kids still tell us, essentially they tell us that they don't have a voice in their school. So I think if we have these sort of grand, organizing schemes in our mind about where we go next, I think in the past, we've perhaps been a little bit too much focused on process and delivery and program delivery, and how do we get people trained to use the skills of restorative justice or restorative practice? How do I become an excellent mediator? And all of that is really good, and all of that is obviously is necessary, and I would never criticize efforts obviously to develop expertise and practice. But at the same time, we need to continue those efforts, but we need to also look at how do we provide opportunities for enhanced involvement. And they're not all that difficult. They don't have to be all that difficult. One of the schools that I worked in Burnaby took this on several years ago now, and they created something built on a focus group model. And they did something as simple as said, when we have an issue in the school, after we take it to staff council, we're going to take it to the focus group and the forum, and we're going to ask the question there, and we're going to listen. Sometimes it was on really mundane issues, and sometimes it was on really serious issues, and they listened. And the change in the school, the change in that culture, the ethic that they worked from was dramatically different once they started to do that. So I think it's really important that we all remember as we go forward how well spoken the young people were, and ask how can we do that. Also, when I think of next steps, I think of the need. Not only is there a need to give youth enhanced voices in our schools and our communities, but there's also a need to provide what restorative action and restorative justice provides for them. Because the other thing that we're hearing from youth is that overall we're actually hearing from them, when we ask them, do you feel safe when you're at school or when you're in a community? Actually, a very high percentage of them say they do. Actually, 80 to 85% of the kids say, yeah, I feel pretty safe, actually. But so what becomes important is not saying, okay, we can rest on our laurels now because 85% of the kids feel safe. It's only 15% who don't. You get 85% in anything, that's a pretty high grade. Well, when we look at that 15% who say, no, I don't feel safe, guess what else they say? They say, I'm not doing well in school, I don't feel connected to my family, I don't feel connected to my peer group, and I don't have an orientation for the future, and every day when I come to school, I'm thinking of how I can protect myself. that about 15% of kids who aren't doing as well as most young people are highly vulnerable. And we need to be thinking about how can we best provide supports for them. In my mind, restorative justice is a huge part of the answer because it's a safe, inclusive, ideally, without as much judgment as processes, discipline processes often have, to provide an opportunity to give voice, to give power, to heal, and to truly restore. So there is a need. There's a need to listen, there's a need to do more, and there's a need to empower and protect the kids in our schools. So.
Well, thank you.